Introduction. What is the third eye and why is it so curious? The world we see with our eyes is only a reflection of physical reality. However, throughout history, people have argued that there is a reality beyond what is seen and that they need an inner eye to perceive this reality. This is where we come across the concept, the third eye. So what exactly is the third eye? Does it really exist, or is it just a symbolic expression? According to spiritual traditions, the third eye is an inner door that raises our level of consciousness, strengthens our intuitive perception, and brings us to a deeper awareness. This energy center, known as the ajna chakra in India, is located between the two eyebrows and is associated with concepts such as wisdom, intuition, and inner vision. In ancient Egypt, this concept was represented by the Eye of Horus symbol, while in Western esotericism, the third eye is generally considered the first step to spiritual awakening. Today, many people define the third eye as awakened individuals. They are described as having deeper intuition, remembering their dreams, feeling energies, and sometimes even making predictions about the future. However, this subject is not limited to mystical teachings. Modern science, especially with studies on neuroscience and the pineal gland, has begun to approach the concept of the third eye with a more neutral eye. The pineal gland, located in the center of the brain and called the seat of the soul, may be at the center of this mystery. So why have people been searching for the third eye for so long? The reason for this is very simple. Humans want to explore the boundaries of their existence. They do not want to be limited to just their five senses. They want to feel, see, and know more. And perhaps one of the most ancient symbols of this search is the third eye. In this video, we will explore the origins, meaning, and scientific and spiritual dimensions of the third eye together. We will approach this subject not only with curiosity, but also with an inner journey, because perhaps the third eye is learning to see our inner world, not the outer world. Part 2, Historical and Spiritual Background. The third eye in ancient teachings. The idea of the third eye is central not only to modern spiritual movements, but also to ancient teachings dating back thousands of years. This concept appears under different names in almost every major mystical tradition, but its essence is always the same: accessing inner wisdom and seeing the unseen. First, in the Indian tradition, the third eye is called the ajna chakra. This center, which means perceiving or giving command in Sanskrit, is the sixth point of the chakra system and is usually represented in purple or navy blue. In Hindu and Buddhist iconography, gods and goddesses have an eye symbol on their foreheads. This is an indication of their divine intuition and wisdom. When we look at ancient Egypt, the symbol of the third eye appears as the Eye of Horus. This symbol is not only a protective sign, but also an expression of cosmic consciousness and spiritual enlightenment. Interestingly, the drawing of the Eye of Horus bears a striking resemblance to a cross-sectional view of the brain in modern medicine, especially the structures surrounding the pineal gland. In Taoist traditions, the third eye is known as the celestial eye, and it is thought that this eye can be activated through meditation. Taoists argue that mental clarity can be achieved by balancing the energy meridians, and that this clarity can open up inner vision. In Kabbalah, the Jewish mysticism, this subject is associated with levels of consciousness such as Bina and Da'at. The idea that we can grasp reality not only through physical senses, but also through intuition and inner understanding comes to the fore here. Although all these teachings speak in different languages and symbols, they meet at a common point. Man is not a being who only observes the external world. He also has the potential to explore his inner world. The third eye is the gateway to this inner journey of discovery, and perhaps for this reason, the knowledge of the third eye has never been completely lost, but has been passed down from generation to generation, in secret or open form, because in every age, man has wanted to know more, to see more deeply. Part 3, Scientific Perspective, the pineal gland and the mysterious point of the brain. Although the third eye is often referred to as a spiritual concept, modern science is examining a structure that comes surprisingly close to this idea, the pineal gland. This small pea-sized structure, located near the very center of the brain, has attracted attention with its mysterious properties since ancient times. French philosopher René Descartes described the pineal gland as the seat of the soul and believed that it had a special connection to human consciousness. The pineal gland is best known for its production of melatonin. Melatonin is a hormone that regulates our sleep-wake cycle. However, many researchers suggest that the pineal gland may have a role beyond this function. Here's the interesting thing. The pineal gland is the only internal organ in our body that responds directly to light. With this feature, it has been observed that some animals can directly perceive light and even function like a third eye. Reptiles and birds have structures inside their skulls that are sensitive to light called parietal eyes. Although this structure has become invisible in humans, the fact that the pineal gland still works in synchrony with light may be an evolutionary remnant of this connection. According to some theories, the pineal gland is not only a hormone producer, but can also synthesize a powerful psychoactive compound called dimethyltryptamine, DMT. DMT is naturally found in some plants and even in low levels in the human body. Some scientists think that this substance may be linked to dreaming, near-death experiences, and mystical visions. This is where science and spiritual teachings intersect. A connection is being established between the third eye's ability to see beyond reality and the pineal gland's effect on states of consciousness. Meditations, breathing techniques, and awareness studies aimed at activating the pineal gland are therefore of interest both scientifically and mystically. However, there are no definitive judgments on this subject in the scientific world. Research is still ongoing, and many findings are controversial. But there is still one truth. This small structure in the middle of our brain, which responds directly to light and is related to our states of consciousness, may be at the center of the big questions about human existence. The functioning of this mysterious structure is perhaps the key that unites both the scientific and spiritual worlds. Chapter 4. What does the opening of the third eye mean? Experiences and effects. When the opening of the third eye is mentioned, most people think of mystical experiences, intuitive powers, or images beyond reality. But how real is this? What really happens when the third eye is opened? According to spiritual traditions, the opening of the third eye means the expansion of consciousness. In other words, the person begins to perceive not only the external world, but also their own inner world more deeply. While this process progresses slowly and calmly for some, it can be much more intense and shocking for others. People who are thought to have their third eye opened often report the following experiences. Intense intuition. They say that their inner voice becomes clearer when making decisions, and that they can sense events in advance. Dream depth. It is observed that dreams become more vivid, meaningful, and sometimes symbolic. Energy sensation. Some say that they can perceive the energies in the environment, people's moods, or vibrations in their fields more clearly. Change in perception of time and space. With increased mental awareness, the concept of time can become more flexible. Some people experience the feeling of being in the moment much more deeply. Inner guidance. People express that they become aware of a sense of wisdom coming from within them and receive guidance. However, in addition to all these experiences, there are some situations that need to be taken into consideration. An unbalanced opening of the third eye can lead to a person becoming overly sensitive, mentally cloudy, or feeling disconnected from reality. For this reason, many spiritual teachings emphasize that this process should be carried out in a controlled and grounded manner. Another important point is this. The opening of the third eye is not encouraged to give the person superpowers. It is encouraged to see their own essence, their purpose in life, and their place in the universe more clearly. This is not an ego game, but rather an effort to go beyond the ego. In fact, the third eye is where we begin to see the inner truth, not the external world. Its opening is not the end. It is the beginning of a deeper journey. Chapter 5. How to open the third eye. Applications, techniques, and warnings. Opening the third eye is not an overnight event in most cases. On the contrary, it is a process that requires patience, discipline, and awareness. So how do you start this process? Which techniques really work, and what should you pay attention to? Here are the most common methods that support the activation of the third eye. 1. Meditation and awareness. The most basic way to awaken the third eye is meditation. Meditations that focus on the forehead, in particular, paying attention to the point between the eyebrows, can activate the energy in this area. Daily meditations done with eyes closed in a quiet environment calm the mind and help increase inner intuition. 2. Breathing techniques, pranayama. Controlled breathing techniques used in Eastern traditions allow more oxygen to be carried to the brain and energy centers. In particular, Nadi Shodhana, breathing exercise performed by using the nostrils alternately, is a powerful tool for clearing the energy channels and balancing the third eye chakra. 3. Natural nutrition and pineal gland cleansing. The pineal gland can become calcified over time due to environmental toxins and especially substances such as fluoride. Therefore, it may be beneficial to stay away from refined foods, use fluoride-free toothpaste, and consume foods that support the pineal gland, such as coconut oil, cocoa, raw apple cider vinegar. 4. Sound frequencies and music. Some frequencies can increase awareness by changing brainwaves. Solfeggio frequencies, especially 963 Hz and 852 Hz, are frequently used in third eye meditations. Binaural beats or Tibetan bowls can also support this process. 5. Visualization techniques. Imagining a spinning ball of light, purple or indigo energy, or an opening eye in the third eye area during meditation helps to focus the mind on this center. Over time, these images may become more vivid. However, there are some important points to consider when trying this process. Entering deep spiritual practices without being mentally or emotionally ready can lead to a loss of balance. Instead of assuming that every experience is miraculous or supernatural, it is necessary to approach it with introspection. It is important to stay grounded on this journey, that is, not to lose connection with the world. Patience, discipline, and intention are essential for a true inner transformation. Remember, opening the third eye is not about gaining extraordinary powers. It is about establishing a deeper connection with yourself and the universe. And when this connection is established, you begin to realize that life is part of a much bigger and more meaningful picture.